Okay, so we're diving into ERP today, and something tells me this is probably top of mind for a lot of you out there. Modernizing those ERP systems, right? It's not just about what they can do for you today, it's about getting ready for that whole AI wave that's coming. I mean, let's be real. If you want a truly intelligent enterprise, your ERP is kind of the central nervous system.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. The promise of AI is definitely exciting, but there's a catch, right? A lot of
Okay.
companies are still running these legacy ERP systems, these old dinosaurs that aren't really built to handle these cutting-edge technologies.
Mm.
And the problem is, if your ERP projects don't go well, it's not just a financial hit. It can really set you back. You could miss out on all these amazing opportunities that AI is bringing to the table.
Right, exactly. So that's why we're doing this deep dive. We're going to take a look at this blog called 5 Steps for Successful ERP Projects. And we're going to break it down into what you absolutely need to know to get your ERP modernized. But not just modernize it, we're talking about setting yourself up to really use AI and make a difference in your business.
Yeah, so we're on a mission here. We want to give you, as a C-level executive, a clear roadmap. These 5 steps are going to help you see exactly how to make these ERP projects work. Modernize your operations, and that's just the start, okay? What we're really talking about is creating a really strong foundation to integrate AI seamlessly into your core business processes and data.
Okay, so let's dig right into that first step, business strategy. Now, this might sound like a no-brainer, but I think the blog makes a really important point. When you're choosing and setting up your ERP, it can't just be some random IT project, right? It has to be tied in directly with your overall business strategy.
You got it. Think about it this way. You put all this time and money into a new ERP, right? And then later on, you're all excited to roll out some cool new AI initiative, and then bam, you hit a wall.
Yeah.
Your system just can't handle it. That's the nightmare scenario we want to avoid. And it all comes down to making sure your ERP is in line with your goals right from the get-go.
Yeah, and those ERP decisions are big deals, right? Like, this blog says they can stick around for a decade or more, so it's not like you can just rip it out and start over next year. It can have big consequences for years. Getting it right the first time is super critical.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
And getting it right means you can't just focus on what's happening right now in your business. It's about thinking ahead, anticipating what's coming down the line. Think about it. Your markets could shift. Customer expectations change. You might introduce new products or services. New regulations might pop up and, hopefully you're planning for some serious growth. Your organizational structure, your scale, all of that can evolve. And these future changes, they have to be the guiding force behind your ERP decisions today, especially if you want to be ready to use AI.
Right. It's about thinking long term, ensuring that this huge investment you're making is going to not just solve today's problems, but really enable your long-term goals.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to using AI to stay competitive. It's about giving you the power to make strategic decisions with a clear vision of the future.
And that brings us to step number 2, business and technical architecture. The blog says these are like the foundation of a good ERP. They're just as important as your strategy. And just like your strategy, they can last for 10 years or more.
Yeah, so you're talking about building something that can withstand the test of time, something that can adapt, right? You have to think ahead, design an architecture that can handle your current strategy, but also be flexible enough to change with your business. And not just that, it has to be able to adapt to new tech and operations and, AI too.
Exactly. And one of the most important things they point out is that you have to incorporate your business architecture requirements from the very beginning. This is key because it helps you avoid those situations where you realize too late that your system is missing some essential features that are crucial for AI and for keeping your business agile overall. Think about it. Your legal entities, markets, customers, products, services, how you plan to grow, how you plan to scale, all of that data needs to be organized within your ERP. It has to flow in a way that makes sense, that will be compatible with AI down the line.
Yeah, and it's not just about how the business is structured, right? The technical architecture is a big deal too. And this blog says that the data model is the starting point. And I can see why, because any kind of analytics you do in the future is going to depend on that.
Yeah.
When you're talking about AI, having a good data model is even more crucial, right?
Absolutely. Your ERP's data model is how AI will make sense of your business, right? It's like their language. If the data is all over the place and inconsistent, AI is going to have a hard time making sense of it. You need that strong foundation to build any meaningful AI applications. Now, you also need to think about the different types of ERP systems. You get your monolithic ones, where everything's all in one package. Then you have best of breed, where you pick and choose the best applications for each function and make them work together. And of course, there's the hybrid approach, which combines elements of both. Each of these has different implications for how accessible your data is and how you integrate AI.
And then there's the big question. Customization. How much is too much? How much do you want to tailor it versus sticking with something more standard? Especially when you're thinking about AI updates and compatibility down the road. It's a tough call.
It really is. You want a system that matches your unique processes, right? Something that gives you an edge over the competition. But if you go too crazy with customization, it can get expensive and complicated. You might find it harder to upgrade the system later on, especially when new AI features come out. That's where that initial architectural blueprint comes in. It helps you make smarter decisions about customization. Look, the bottom line is this. If you spend the time and effort to plan your architecture carefully up front, it'll pay off big time in the long run. It makes your operations smoother and sets you up to use AI effectively in the future.
Okay, let's move on to step number 3. Define the business process. The blog calls this where the real work begins. And I get it. It's about challenging the status quo, moving away from that "we've always done it this way" mindset and adopting those industry best practices that make sense for an AI-powered future.
You know it. When you're implementing an ERP, the decisions you make about your processes will have ripple effects for years to come, both how things work and financially. And the blog really drives home this point. You have to map out your processes, your current ones and the ones you want to have in the future. And this has to happen before you even start the implementation. And that strong architectural framework we were just talking about, that's your guide.
They really stress that how well you map out those processes is going to determine the success of the entire project. I mean, it's tempting, right? You just want to copy and paste what you're already doing into the new system, but that's not really the point, is it?
Oh no, definitely not. That's a huge missed opportunity, especially if you're trying to get ready for AI. This is your chance to rethink and optimize your processes, to really streamline things. You can achieve a whole new level of efficiency, which will make it much easier to integrate AI automation and insights later on. The blog is very clear about this. The best results come when you simplify and streamline those processes before you even roll out the new ERP. It saves you time and money in the long run.
And what happens if you don't really examine and maybe revamp those processes? Well, the blog warns that you could end up limiting your future capabilities and even hurting your bottom line. That's a pretty serious message, especially for a C-level executive.
It is, no question. Imagine this. You build your new fancy ERP system, but underneath it all are these outdated, inefficient processes. Not only is that going to hurt you today, but it's going to make it really tough to use AI effectively in the future. Remember, AI works best when it has clean, standardized processes to work with. When you invest in optimizing those processes now, you're directly investing in the success of your AI initiatives down the line.
Okay, let's talk about step number 4. Governance team. The blog talks about how a lot of companies make this big mistake of thinking ERP projects are just for the IT department. And they make a good point that this can have some really bad consequences.
Right, because an ERP system affects every part of your business.
Mm.
It's not just an IT thing. So the people leading this project, the people making the decisions, they can't just be from IT. They need to be the business leaders who really understand the strategic needs and what's happening on the ground. The IT folks bring their technical skills, which are important, but the business leaders have to be the ones steering the ship.
They really emphasize how important it is to have a strong leader, a business leader, who's going to champion this project across the entire organization. And they need to work closely with the IT team, who bring that project management and technical expertise.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work. And all those decisions about choosing the ERP, which functions to use, how to configure the system, what to customize, that stuff should be handled by a team of execs from all the key areas of the business. This way, you're making sure everyone's voice is heard and the ERP system actually meets the needs of the entire company. This is going to make it a lot easier to adopt AI in a way that benefits everyone later on.
And, you're going to have to make some tough choices along the way, right? Like, what's the scope of the project? What's the timeline? How are you allocating resources and budget? The blog says that the business as a whole has to own those decisions and ultimately be accountable for the results.
Yep. Ownership is key here. Effective governance means the ERP system is focused on delivering a real competitive advantage. It means you're using best practices to be as efficient as possible. It means you have a clear path for upgrading the system, which is crucial for getting new AI features down the road. And it means keeping those costs under control in the long run. This is all about making sure your ERP project aligns with your business goals and sets you up to launch AI initiatives that are actually driven by what your business needs and deliver real value.
And finally, step number 5, project core team. The blog says if you want a successful ERP project, you got to have a dedicated team. And we're not talking about just anyone, we're talking about your best people, the experts from each department. They even say it takes a village.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. These are the people who live and breathe your operations every day. They know the ins and outs of how everything works. They're absolutely crucial to making sure the ERP system really meets your specific needs and can work with AI in the future.
And here's a really important point they make. If you want these folks to really focus on the project, you got to backfill their regular jobs. It shows everyone that you're serious about this, that this ERP modernization is a top priority.
Absolutely. Actions speak louder than words. It's a clear sign that this project matters. They also suggest bringing in outside help, experts in functional processes and technical stuff to support your internal team. And obviously you need a good program leader and some experienced project managers to keep things on track.
Right, and the blog makes a strong case for having a dedicated team made up of your own people, your experts, with some support from outside specialists. This is what leads to a well-designed system, they say. It helps you roll things out more efficiently and minimizes disruptions to your business. It makes sense, right? The people who know the processes best are the ones who can design a system that works for them. They also know how to organize that data in a way that's useful for future AI.
Exactly. This dedicated team is going to be super important when it comes to getting your data and processes ready for AI. They have that deep understanding of the business context. They'll be able to make sure that your AI initiatives are relevant, reliable, and deliver real results.
So we've got the roadmap, the how to approach ERP projects from that 5 steps blog. But, as C-level execs, we also need to understand the why. How does this investment translate into actual business value? Especially when we're talking about AI. That's where the IT investments and spending more and IT investments and spending smarter blogs come in.
Exactly. It's all connected. A lot of times there's this tug of war, right? The business side is pushing for more tech, more innovation, and they're excited about AI. But the IT department often has limited resources, both money and people. These blogs do a good job of explaining this challenge, which a lot of companies face.
Yeah, and they talk about 2 main ways to deal with it. Either you give IT more money or you figure out how to use what they have more effectively. So let's talk about the first one, spending more. Especially in the context of a big project like modernizing your ERP, the blog says you absolutely need a strong business case if you're going to go down this path.
Right. You can't just walk in and ask for a ton of money without justifying it. The blog breaks down what a good business case should look like. It starts with clearly defining the problem or opportunity, why it's important to the company, why now. Then you lay out all the options, including the option of doing nothing. This gives you a good baseline to compare against. And for each option, you outline the pros and cons, the potential benefits and risks.
Then you make a recommendation, right? Explain why you think this is the best way to go and back it up with a detailed plan. This plan outlines the scope, the timeline, what resources you need, and the budget. But the most important thing is to be really clear about the financial side of things. How is this going to pay off?
Absolutely. A strong business case includes a long-term financial projection. It shows the total cost of ownership over the system's lifespan, any improvements you expect to see in margins or efficiency, and how it will affect future budgets. That includes things like maintenance, upgrades, and even potential costs for AI integration down the line. It's a way to give decision makers a full financial picture. Now, that IT investments and spending more blog also talks about 5 main reasons companies invest in IT. Growing revenue, increasing profits, improving customer service, enhancing product quality, and making sure everything is secure and compliant.
And it's pretty clear how a modern ERP, especially one that's ready for AI, can help with all of those.
Yeah.
For example, you can use AI to recommend products to customers or adjust prices dynamically, which can boost revenue. AI can also automate tasks that used to be manual, which can save a lot of money and improve margins.
Exactly. And most companies have financial benchmarks, like a certain rate of return they expect on new investments. You have to be able to show that your ERP project, including any potential value you'll get from AI, is going to meet those benchmarks. A good business case doesn't mean you'll automatically get the green light, but it gives you a fighting chance.
Okay, so let's shift gears and talk about spending smarter. The IT Investments and Spending Smarter blog introduces this idea of a 7-0-2010 budget. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. This principle says that a lot of IT budgets are spent in roughly this way. 70% goes to just keeping the lights on, maintaining those legacy systems. Then 20% is for enhancements and upgrades to those systems, plus support for business growth. That leaves only 10% for brand new investments, the kind of stuff that can really transform the business, like modernizing an ERP or bringing in AI.
And the point is that 10% is not really enough in today's fast-moving world. So spending smarter means you need to find ways to shrink that 70% and 20% so you have more money for innovation.
Exactly. The blog lays out some practical tips to achieve this. You can standardize your IT infrastructure and applications, consolidate redundant systems, use virtualization technologies, automate routine tasks, retire outdated tech, renegotiate with your IT vendors, consider moving things to the cloud where it makes sense, standardize business processes to reduce the need for custom IT solutions, and even think about outsourcing certain non-core IT functions.
So it's about being more strategic, more efficient with how you're spending money on IT so you can free up resources for innovation. It's a smart move. By making your current IT spending more efficient, you create more room in the budget for those transformative investments, like building an AI-ready ERP platform.
Exactly. The goal is to make the most of what you're already spending on IT so that you can invest in the technologies that will make a real difference in the future. And an ERP system that can work with AI is a big part of that.
Okay, so to wrap things up, let's bring in this last blog, IT Investments, 5 Questions to Ask. It's a really useful framework for evaluating your ERP modernization plans and any AI initiatives you're thinking about.
It is. They've boiled it down to 5 simple but powerful questions. These are the questions every C-level exec should ask before they sign off on any big technology investment, whether it's an ERP overhaul or a cutting-edge AI project. The first question is, will it make us more money? Second, will it save us time and money? Third, will it make our customers happier? Fourth, will it improve the quality of our products or services? And fifth, will it help us stay compliant and keep our data secure?
Those are some pretty straightforward but hard-hitting questions, and they're particularly relevant when we're talking about modernizing ERP with AI in mind. So think about it. Can a modern ERP, powered by AI, help you find new revenue streams or make your pricing strategy better? Will the improvements in efficiency and automation actually save you time and money? Can you get a better view of your customers through the ERP, maybe use AI to personalize your interactions and build loyalty? Will the improved data accuracy, combined with AI-driven quality control, lead to better products or services? And finally, are these new ERP systems more secure? And can AI help you detect and prevent security threats and ensure compliance?
The blog says that if you can't answer yes to at least one of these questions, maybe even several, then you should really think twice about that investment. It doesn't matter if it's a fancy new ERP or some cutting-edge AI solution. The bottom line is this: all your technology spending should be tied to clear business goals.
So as we come to the end of this deep dive, let's quickly recap the main points from the 5 Steps blog, especially for those of you who are thinking about modernizing your ERP to be ready for AI. These are the key takeaways. Make sure your ERP project aligns with your overall business strategy, build a strong and adaptable architectural foundation, carefully define and streamline your business processes, set up a solid governance team, and get a dedicated and skilled team in place to lead the project.
And remember, this isn't just about upgrading your systems. It's about getting your company ready for the future, for a world where AI is going to be a big deal. You're building the digital infrastructure you need to really take advantage of AI and everything it has to offer.
And to make this happen, you need a good business case, one that clearly explains the benefits and why it's worth the investment. You also need to be smart about your IT spending, find ways to maximize what you already have, and make room for these game-changing investments.
So here's something for you to think about. Imagine how much smoother things could be and how many risks you could avoid if you really focus on those 5 steps we talked about and ask those 5 tough questions about any new technology you're considering. Not only that, but you'll also be putting your company in a prime position to capitalize on the potential of AI in the coming years. Think about which of these areas needs your attention right now as you start your journey towards an AI-powered future. That's the challenge I leave you with.